So last week we went to Chicago, and this week we're going to Steamboat Springs, Colorado. And I have a favorite guest today that we're going to have on here to talk about the market in Steamboat Springs. But if you're not familiar with this channel, this is Relocation, It's Your Move, where we connect buyers and sellers with qualified agents all across the United States and across the globe. So I want you to join me in welcoming Martin Dragnv, and he is with the group out of Fort Collins, Colorado, and Martin actually works in the Steamboat Springs market. So, Martin, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. I really
You bet.
appreciate it.
You bet. So, what I wanted to try and do is get the audience acclimated to maybe Steamboat Springs if they're not familiar with it, and also with a great agent in that market. And so, I thought we would just start out with some generalized questions about yourself so that we can get to know you just a little bit better. So, give us an idea of your background and what brought you there.
Absolutely. I am originally from Eastern Europe. I moved to US in 2000. I've been in Steamboat Springs for almost 25 years now. Um, Married, I have two wonderful children. I have twin daughters. They're 11 years old now. I did get into real estate in 2008, so it's been just about 7 years or so in the business.
That's exciting, and it's great to hear that you have twins, and I'm sure that that is a challenge unto itself.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's everything it sounds like.
So, give us an idea of what makes Steamboat Springs unique.
Absolutely, Mark. There are a lot of things that make our market unique. To be precise, or maybe point out a few things where obviously, first of all, we are a resort market. Two-thirds of our market is second homeowners and investors, people investing in a rental property and such. Steamboat is also quickly becoming a one of the top 5, 6 resorts in the state of key resorts in the state of Colorado. I would say there has been a lot of recent investments that took place in Steamboat, both at the base area as well as on mountain dining and lodging. And we have expanded the skiable terrain. As of 2 ski seasons ago, Steamboat Springs now has 3,700 acres of skiable terrain, making it the second largest ski area in the state of Colorado. We have two brand new gondolas. They're beautiful if you're a skier. One of them is the longest and fastest gondola in North America. There has been a ton of investment that has taken place here, and Steamboat has quickly become a modern, up to speed top resort in the state of Colorado. At the same time, though, it's interesting. It's not all about the ski resort here. We have a very strong sense of community. People say it's a real town. It doesn't just feel like a resort, which appeals to a lot of the people that end up investing in Steamboat Springs. The fact that we have the amenities of a real town, strong sense of community, lots of nonprofit organizations, very different ways to get involved.
Well, I like that, and that kind of leads us into the next question, and that is, what does your buyer profile look like if it is a heavily resort market? What is your typical buyer?
We have people moving here from all over, Mark, but if I have to point out a few trends that I followed and noticed, our second home market, we have different segments in each market. If you take properties that are outside the city limits, larger properties on acreage, usually about 50% of that segment is people coming from the state of Texas. If we drill into more rental investment properties more located within city limits, we have a lot of folks from Southeast and Southwest Florida. We have people from Chicago. We have a fair amount of people from Michigan and the Northeast as well investing here. So if I have to point out a few major feeder markets to us, I would say those areas for sure.
That's very interesting because we're in the Southwest Florida market, and a lot of our people here, especially on the barrier islands, are second home market, resort market. So I think our markets are probably pretty similar. We have a lot of part-time people here, and of course here we call them snowbirds because they come here for the winter to get away from the cold. So they're probably going to when they want to have more cold. So that's pretty funny. So that's good information. That brings us to our next question, and that is, how is your market and what are the current real estate market conditions in your area? I know in Florida, we're a little bit slower than what our normal pace is, but I'm kind of curious as to how your market is.
Absolutely, Mark. I will resemble a little bit of what you just said. So this is a quick snapshot through the month of April and how the numbers compare to the same time period of last year. We have it broken down per type of product: single family versus multifamily, condos and townhomes. We've picked up some inventory, as you can see, mainly in a multifamily segment of the market, which also explains why that multifamily part of the market did see a decline in both median and average sales price. Single family homes did see a little bit of an uptick in inventory, but not as severe. In general, our inventory levels are still about a little less than half of what they were before COVID started. During the post-COVID market of late 2020, 2021, and first quarter of 2022, we were consistently working with about a quarter of the amount of listings we had before COVID pandemic started. So generally speaking, the inventory is still lower. So let's dive into some of these other parameters. Percentage of list price, buyers were able to get more of a discount. We were looking at 97% of asking price versus 99% a year ago. So I would say that's fairly significant. Days on market is another statistic we follow. We see an increase on those in the month of April. Generally speaking, our market year to date, we are roughly about 60 days, 2 months from listing a property to getting an offer on a property that results in a successful sale. Inventory of homes, we briefly touched base on that. Months of supply is another important statistic we follow. Both single family homes and condo, townhome markets have seen an increase in months of supply from 2 to 4 months with the single family segment and from 2 to almost 6 months with the multifamily. What that tells us, as you know, Mark, we're looking at more of a balanced market. 5 to 6 months of supply is a market that neither buyers or sellers dictate the conditions of the negotiation. Buyers have generally more control. There are less multi-offer situations out there, and generally speaking, more opportunity for buyers. From the looks of the sheet, more on the multifamily side of things.
So if we were to go in and say, hey, what do you think the hot area is? What are the popular neighborhoods, the big communities that you see people wanting to be in on a constant basis?
I would say there are a lot of desirable areas here, and every client has different goals. Clients wanting to be close to the base of the ski area, property that is very rentable, a complex that offers a lot of amenities, which makes it rentable. They come and spend 4 to 6 weeks a year as a family, and they rent the place out the rest of the time in effort to generate some rental income out of it. I would say a lot of my clients would fall under those criteria.
Okay. So that kind of leads us into the next question is the types of homes that we see selling popular wise. In Florida, the condo market is kind of depressed because if you remember a couple of years ago, that condo collapse that was in Miami. So now we have all these new regulations, all these things, these hoops that any building 3 stories and higher has to fall under. So, but I know that every market is different, and I know that there's probably a lot of condos at the base of these mountains that they're able to ski in, ski out. So is that what you would think that is your most popular are the condos?
We've seen a little bit of shift with that. In the last year or two, we have had a very large demand for startup homes, single family homes type of price points. A family with a child or about to have their first child with steady jobs, uh, they're they're ready to move up from a multi-family type arrangement into their first single family home. So those would be local buyers. They do represent a significant chunk of our business, although not the majority. But I would say single family homes in the million to million two mark has been a very sought after segment, and properties that are listed in that segment usually do receive multiple offers still. We're seeing an interesting trend where some of our move up buyers are hesitant to make that move. They're locked in their 3% mortgage still, moving into a 6.5 to 7% mortgage is difficult for some folks. And on the flip side, submitting a contingent offer, meaning submitting an offer to purchase subject to their townhome selling, for example, has been difficult and challenging, and many sellers are not willing to work with those. The folks that do make the decision to move up to a single family home, we do see that segment I described fairly active lately.
So if you don't mind, give me an idea about these two. I just happened to go on your website and just randomly pulled a couple of your listings, and it looked like you had some really nice listings. But
Absolutely. Well, first of all, a little more of the snow has melted since we took this picture, but this is a very good example, actually. This is a single family home, 1,200 square feet, in one of the satellite communities to Steamboat. We have a few areas where you can get more bang for your buck, and values are better. The communities of Hayden, Oak Creek, and Clark. This particular home is located in Clark, a ton of recreation up there, a ton of trails, great fishing, dirt biking, snowmobiling. So this particular home is listed at 725,000. It's on 5 acres, so could be a very good opportunity for somebody. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, everybody wants to be on a river. This particular option is much closer to city limits, to Steamboat Springs, and it has 600 to 700 feet roughly of Yampa River frontage. So great fishing property for the avid fishermen out there, great fly fishing. It does have a pond on it as well. Can be a great building site for anyone. It's kind of a unique property. We have that listed at the higher price point to reflect that. Yeah, we have here under 50 acres. This is a 48.5 acre parcel.
well, I'd like to come out there and get it, but I have an idea it might be a little bit out of my budget. So, but that's pretty nice. I like that. What would you give somebody as far as advice if they were relocating to your area, maybe for the first time?
Definitely use an agent, definitely use an expert advice, somebody that has you back and knows the local market and can help you through the process. Every market has differences. Having that knowledge behind you is key. Also, I would say research the different buy down programs with your lender, giving you an opportunity to reduce your mortgage rate, either temporary or permanently, with rates being kind of stubborn in the last 2 years. I think that is pretty key to understand. And I often have clients that approach me, and I have a very detailed conversation about that. And and they tell me they've never been aware of those options, and they were appreciative of knowing that.
We have that question quite a bit, the buy downs, and I think that's one thing that is of course all across the United States is the interest rates. There's not much difference between Florida and Chicago and Colorado and California. They're all what were previously experienced too. Was they all seem to be a little bit high. But I heard Marcy Russell speak yesterday, who is the economist for leading RE, and she said in 2000 the average rate was 8%, and people still bought houses. So, we're just a little bit below that, thank goodness. What do you think that one of the biggest surprises about somebody that wanted to live in Steamboat Springs that they might not know, what would that be?
That's an interesting question. When people hear Colorado and ski resorts, they imagine this high elevation. And the interesting fact about the city of Steamboat Springs is we are only 6,800 feet in elevation wise, which as we all grow older, it becomes more important. And that's a fact that very few people know. And a lot of people are surprised. I would also add to that, we have very active and very deep traditions in ranching. There is a lot of active ranches in the area, cattle ranches, hay ranches, and when visitors from out of town come and drive around, that's a real treat for them to see those ranches.
That's pretty sweet. So, can you give me an idea about what do you think the market trends are that the buyers and sellers might want to be clued in on a little bit?
Sure, that's another great question. A couple of things I would point out. We do have a lot of new developments here, a lot of multifamily developments, some deed restricted developments, and some free market opportunities. A lot of interesting product coming down the pipeline. Another important thing for my clients or anyone to know is the recently, with some challenges that certain Colorado mountain communities have with affordability and being able to retain the workforce in town. uh, Many towns get to different level of regulations as far as rentability of a property goes. So that's very important to understand for investors. And we recently had an overlay zoning map created, covering the entire area and creating these green, yellow, and red zones, with each zone having different rules on your ability as the homeowner to rent your property out. Very crucial to understand that. Those are the things that come to mind that are worth pointing out.
That's good to know because we have same rental restrictions here. They're trying to keep neighborhoods from being just VRBOs and Airbnbs. So, from an investment standpoint, when we have people come in here looking for investment property, we have to make sure that we point out to them what is the area that would suit that requirement and which ones won't.
Absolutely.
So, we're going to throw in a little bonus question here. Uh, I just wanted to find out what your most memorable success story is in real estate and how that came about or why.
Sure. Okay, another great question, Mark. Thank you. I've been blessed to have had many clients over my 17 years in real estate, but if I have to, that'll be a little more general, instead of pointing out a specific instance. But I would say the experience with working with first-time home buyers and the the emotion and the joy of getting them into their first home. And I had a client that I had a closing with just yesterday, and a few months back into the process, she literally cried. She couldn't think that she'll ever find the right property that she could afford, that she can get into. And we did have a closing on that property literally yesterday. So it was a very emotional day for them. And it's one of those things that really makes me feel good about what we do in our industry, and how much can that mean to somebody's life.
Boy, that's really good, and it's I don't wanna be sound callous, but, when somebody's buying their 7th or 8th house and it's an investment property, it's more of a transaction than it is anything else. It's not really, as meaningful as it is that first-time buyer and seeing the look on their face and the joy that they have, especially if they have a family, but, I mean, even single people that just come out and buy their house the first time, they just get it is a great feeling. I agree with that.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you so much for coming in here today and being with us and just sharing your knowledge and everything that goes on there in Steamboat Springs. And there is an 800 number down below if you want to get in touch with Martin to either buy or sell property in the Steamboat Springs area. So when you think about making a move anywhere in the United States or globally, Relocation is Your Move is a great source to come in and try and find someone, see if we can't connect you with a great agent that'll fit your needs. What we do want you to do is feel comfortable in picking up that phone and either calling, emailing, or texting us and asking for someone that can help you make your next move. Mark Bamig, Michael Saunders Company.